from Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Your source for the Department of Energy's environmental cleanup news. Energycast starts now.
Hi everyone, I'm Summer Dash. Welcome to your November episode of Energycast. Happy holidays to you. We will be celebrating Thanksgiving just a little bit later during this show, but first, let's go ahead and get started with some Energy Bites. All right, think about it. It's a tough question. What's your favorite part of Thanksgiving? We asked a few folks across the Oak Ridge Reservation. Some of them ran away from our camera, but we did catch a few. We're going to be sharing their answers throughout this show. Plus, the final stretch of a project could prove to be the trickiest. A new team is taking over to try to get it done. We'll show you what's next for the transuranic waste processing facility.
It is emotional to think about that we live in the greatest country of this world.
In honor of Veterans Day, we are introducing you to some of the service members who work on our team with the Oak Ridge Office of Environmental Management. In just a few minutes, you're going to hear their stories. Well, you know something pretty special is happening when everyone leaves their offices to go see the kickstart of a project. Transferring a canister of uranium-233 that has been around since the 1950s into a hot cell facility, yeah, that'll do it. That material has major medical implications. It's being used to further cancer research and treatment. It's got a lot of people hopeful and some locals really proud. Decades-old material, reimagined.
We're storing these for reloading and reshipping.
The mission, to get rid of the uranium-233 stored at Oak Ridge National Laboratory that dates back to the start of the nuclear era.
We're starting out in our hot cell operations, and we actually have the radioactive material inside the hot cells.
This is one of environmental management's biggest projects. But what does it have to do with cancer?
Everyone, family, friends, people in our community, everyone is touched in some way by someone who has suffered from cancer.
When Jim Boland took over as president of Isotek Systems in 2010, even he wasn't entirely sure how this would all play out. Employees spent more than 500,000 hours getting ready to process it.
We discovered that there was a way to dispose directly of about half of the inventory, which we've completed. But then we had to sort out what do we do with the other half. And that's what's led us to this day that we're now talking about.
On this day, the first canister is pulled out.
I was over on the Building 3019 side of what was happening, and when we came out of the building with the first material, and I look across the street at Building 2026, it's all these Isotek folks.
A crowd forms.
Some of them even put on their best shirt for the event.
Employees come out of different buildings just to watch.
There's been all this preparation to this point, and so now to get to the spot where they're actually processing uranium and then extracting thorium that will deliver to TerraPower is just monumental for them.
Thorium is a rare man-made isotope. DOE, Isotek, and TerraPower are working together to use it to cure cancer. The treatment is called targeted alpha therapy.
I started in the lab in 1991, so I worked on extracting some of the first thorium from the hot cells at 3019, so it's taken 30 years to get to this point.
The people working on every aspect of this know the significance.
It does make you feel good to come into work and knowing that what you're doing has some purpose beyond, getting a paycheck.
Once used as a potential power source, today that same material may just hold the key to saving lives.
The amount of material that we potentially will be extracting is enough for, hundreds of thousands of treatments.
And Oak Ridge, Tennessee is the only place in the world it exists.
I may not be able to use it, but hopefully it'll be out there for my kids or future generations that they can have some cancer therapy treatment.
As groundbreaking as it once was, only this time with a whole new purpose. Our new 10-year strategic plan is now available. We are so excited to share this with you, all the details. Plan shows our 4 major goals that take us through the year 2032. So these help employees have a unified vision to strive toward. The plan also names specific projects to measure our progress and performance. And you can see our 4 primary goals for the next decade on your screen right now. First goal involves completing cleanup at ETTP and getting the rest of that site transferred transferred to the community for reuse. Our second goal focuses on cleanup at ORNL. Over the next 10 years, EM will eliminate the inventory of transuranic waste and uranium-233 stored at that site. We will also take down numerous old reactors and labs to clear land for new research. Goal 3 focuses on transforming Y-12. Employees will finish construction on the mercury treatment facility and take down massive former enrichment buildings. The final goal ensures there is enough disposal capacity to continue cleanup across the Oak Ridge Reservation. Now you can read that full plan over on our homepage right now. Point your camera at that little box on your screen. It'll take you right over to that website. It's also energy.gov/OREM. Taking a look at Building 3010 before and after demolition now. This is the old bulk shielding reactor as demo was happening. It's the first reactor to be brought down in Oak Ridge National Lab's central campus area. It was built in the 1950s for radiation shielding studies. Here it is right here after demo. That land will now be put to new use. We've got an update now on the Transuranic Waste Processing Center. A different contractor has taken over that project. United Cleanup Oak Ridge, or UCOR, is now leading the operation. To date, employees at that facility have processed 98% of the waste. That remaining 2% is really tricky stuff to handle. True waste is artificially made radioactive elements heavier than uranium on the periodic table. EM constructed the facility in 2003 to handle the stockpile of this defense-related waste. UCOR's expertise and resources will be pivotal in helping EM address and eliminate the last of this waste.
I think UCOR came in and said, hey, we like some of these things you do and we've got some good ideas, and I think they're going to merge it together and hopefully be better off for it.
The waste is processed in Oak Ridge, then shipped off for permanent disposal in New Mexico. Now, once this project is done, that facility will be demolished. One of the biggest businesses to date is officially under construction at the Horizon Center. That's near the East Tennessee Technology Park. That is land the Department of Energy transferred to the community for redevelopment to attract new businesses to the region. TriSoX has now broken ground. In April, the company announced plans to build its world headquarters and commercial fuel fabrication facility. Workers there will produce fuel for advanced reactors worldwide. The project is expected to generate 400 jobs and attract an investment of $300 million.
I think it's a great day, and it's something that we've been looking forward to for many months. We've worked closely with X-Energy and TriSoX to make this day happen, and we could not be happier in the result.
We are so excited to be here. The whole team is dedicated, full throttle. You know, we've been at this a long time, working with the leadership in Oak Ridge. It's done a great job. I want to thank you all personally for that.
This is a continuation of what we've been seeing over the past decade. We've seen new nuclear companies, new technical companies come to Oak Ridge in East Tennessee.
I am a person who believes that Tennessee is a leader in America. We lead this country in so many ways, and this is an example of our ability to lead in the country.
Tennessee is really at the forefront right now of what is a worldwide direction toward advanced nuclear energy. It is what is needed today, it's what will be needed tomorrow, and it's great that a company is ready to get to work.
I'm super excited, so delighted. What a great day, and such a huge inflection point and a huge milestone for our company, for United States, for Tennessee.
Frankly, if you look at the future of nuclear technology and energy development, it's an important day for our globe. And we understand that here in Tennessee.
One of the biggest linchpins for our clean energy system is the fuel.
For the first time in over 50 years in the United States of America, we have a new fuel facility for new nuclear being built.
There's been a big hole in the advanced reactor nuclear supply chain. Namely, there isn't a fuel facility that can do what we're going to do here.
This is central to what we do. We say at X-Energy it all starts with the fuel, and this is where the fuel starts.
But it's companies like this that take something like that and turn it into the trust that everyone should have in nuclear energy. These will be safe. At every temperature this reactor can get to, they will never melt, and they will not release fission products into the environment. because we care about the environment.
In the next 30 years, global energy demand is going to increase by 50%. Now, it's going to increase by 50% while we're trying to decarbonize the global economy.
The nuclear industry needs to grow. Not only do we need to keep all the existing reactors that are operating safely online as long as possible to meet our climate goals, but we also need to expand the amount of nuclear.
And those power stations require fuel, and that fuel will be designed and manufactured here.
There is no other advanced reactor fuel company in the Western world. So I think it's a huge piece on the journey of advanced reactors and making this operationalized around the world.
After years of hard work, an 18-acre area at Y12 is open and ready for reuse. That's all thanks to EM and its contractor UCOR. EM took ownership of the area to demolish the final 2 buildings in the biology complex in 2020. Crews finished taking down the massive buildings last year. They were busy removing the old foundations this year. That work is now complete. The land is back with Y12. This project was a top priority. Cleanup removed old, crumbling infrastructure and opened space to construct the lithium processing facility in the years ahead. Hey, ever heard the term HAZWOPER training? That training helps participants learn how to identify hazards they may encounter out in the field so they can stay safe. Some Roane State Community College students are getting to go through it. About 20 students who are studying to go into the environmental management field headed over to UCOR. They learned how to scan someone's body with a radiation detector, all sorts of neat new skills. This is all done through a partnership between UCOR and the college.
Has grown very rapidly. We partner with them on the PEAK grant that allows us to do HAZWOPER type training, and we do it for our salaried employees. So we, on top of this class, and then Roane State Community College provides the HAZWOPER training for us as well. So they do a lot for us. Students also got to use Freddy. It's a high-tech dummy that teaches the proper way to scan people for radiological contaminants. Thanks, Freddy. All right, we've got some updates for you on the latest site-specific advisory board meeting. The annual planning meeting was in October. Members met to hear from EM, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. They also finalized the list of topics they will cover during the upcoming year. The advisory board is made up of volunteers from the surrounding counties who have an interest in learning about cleanup. The board gives recommendations to EM and gives insight and different perspectives from across the community. With the planning meeting complete, they now have a look at what they will cover in the months ahead. We've got that list for you. November kicks off the uranium-233 project we mentioned earlier in the show. Members will hear about EM's efforts to ensure there is enough capacity for waste in February. Now, next spring, the board will hear about plans and priorities for the 2025 budget. There will be 2 presentations this summer, one to discuss how EM is addressing groundwater at ETTP. The other will cover work to take down old contaminated buildings at ORNL and Y12. Help us honor those who serve. Many of our co-workers here in Oak Ridge are members of the military. We are sitting down with just a few of them as we observe Veterans Day. And before we head to break, let's go ahead and hear a few answers to the question we asked employees across the Oak Ridge Reservation. What is your favorite part about Thanksgiving?
I just love cooking for the family when they come down. I enjoy it. That's my favorite time of the year, cooking for Thanksgiving and Christmas.
To celebrate this month. We are also so very thankful for our veterans. Many of the people who work on the Oak Ridge Reservation have served or are currently serving in the military. We caught up with a few of them at the Federal Building in honor of Veterans Day.
Nathan Pelosi, Lieutenant Colonel, Army.
Michael Wolney, United States Air Force, retired chief.
Enrique King Regos, retired U.S. Air Force Senior Master Sergeant.
Kurt Warmbrode, Lieutenant Commander, retired Navy.
Got out of high school and went straight to college, which I don't see how kids can do. I hated it. Ended up dropping out of college. I was like, oh, that thing that I always wanted to do, let's go do it.
I was 16 years old, loved air traffic control, wanted to get into airplanes.
I'm an immigrant to this country, so when I came here, I really loved planes, and I really want to be a pilot.
I went to college for 2 years and realized I didn't know what I wanted to do, and wanted to take a break. And during that break time, I realized that, you know, I've always really been interested in the military and the Navy in particular.
I always remember General MacArthur's, I think that was his farewell speech to the West Point, duty, honor, and country. And that's really resonated with me because with that words, I've been I've been very grateful for all the training that I got, and it made me really loyal and at the same time to serve my country.
As an enlisted person, I got to work on weapon systems and be around all the big weapons and stuff my first job. So more on blowing the stuff up, and then I got to be a cavalry scout for a while. I got to be a tanker for a while. I got to be a drill sergeant for a while. And then I became a commissioned officer, and I got to be an armor officer for a while. And then came to be an engineer officer, and I've been a lot of cool places, a lot of different places, some not so cool places, but all have made me better.
Best way to support military members is to support their family members back home, because if you're separated from them, or especially if you're deployed somewhere, that connection, knowing that they're okay, is just huge for your own stability and your outlook and your positivity that you really need. So if the word from home is, hey, yeah, don't worry about the yard, it's taken care of. And when I was deployed, a friend of mine who didn't deploy mowed my yard for me, took care of it. It was actually the best my yard ever looked.
The American dream. Follow that dream. Don't look back. It is emotional to think about that we live in the greatest country of this world. I would say, even with the most problems we have, it's because we have veterans.
Medical breakthroughs are happening at Oak Ridge National Lab. The recent groundbreaking for the Stable Isotope Production and Research Center brought Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm to town. Isotopes are being used in medicine for the treatment of heart disease and cancer. The new facility will provide DOE with multiple production systems that can enrich a wide range of them. There's also extra space to expand processes at the facility in the future. It will be under DOE's isotope program, which produces and sells isotopes that are in short supply. This keeps the work and technology in our country and builds out the domestic supply chain. Energy consumption is the second highest operational expense schools face today. Some schools are faced with a really tough choice of investing in energy-related costs or other critical education needs. DOE is now helping out. The federal agency just released a notice of intent announcing $80 million to make K-12 schools more energy efficient and lower their energy costs. So that includes, in some cases, the nation's highest needs schools. Through the recently passed infrastructure bill, DOE is funding energy and health improvements in public schools all across the country. In that announcement, Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm said, quote, Nearly half of our nation's school districts, and disproportionately low-income and rural districts, struggle to maintain aging facilities and ensure classrooms are free from health hazards. These major investments, made possible by President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law, will lead to healthier learning environments and lower energy costs so school districts can equitably lead on the clean energy transition. Well, many of us are afraid of them or even allergic to them. Others can't even say the word pollen without sneezing. But do you know why bees are so important? The American Museum of Science and Energy hosted an entire event to spread the word. We're going to tell you all about it after the break. And we know people get really passionate about their favorite Thanksgiving food. You know, like what's the best side dish and why is it corn pudding? Anyway, we decided to open up that question with a broader ask. What's your favorite part about Thanksgiving? When we come back, we're going to share a few more answers we heard from our staff. This month's Spotlight. Opal Talbot is 101 years old, got to celebrate that birthday by coming back to Oak Ridge. She was a Calutron girl during the Manhattan Project. Though she eventually went back to her hometown of Albany, Kentucky, her time in East Tennessee was a huge part of her life and our history. Much like the work she did here, some might say this day is historic.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Less than 1% of Americans actually live to 100, and Opal Talbot added another year to that.
This has been a wonderful thing. Such a treat.
Now she's reminiscing.
It was February 43, the best I remember.
She was in her early 20s living in Albany, Kentucky.
Rumors got to going around that they had started some kind of a plant in Tennessee.
It was her best friend who convinced her to up and leave.
So, Maida came down and she said, why don't we go check it out?
Off they went to live together in Oak Ridge. There was little to the city at the time.
There was some doctor's offices and a little theater and a church. And then there's a little place that was called Middletown.
Other young women joined the efforts during the war too.
They're from everywhere. They're from Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, and just all over.
Known as the Calutron Girls, none at the time knew the contribution they were making.
This was dated August 16th, 1945, so just after the bomb was dropped.
Their job was to monitor these gauges.
We sat there right in front of that cubicle and operated those things to get the highest ratio. And sometimes the high voltage went off and we had to try to find out what was wrong.
All the while, never knowing, just beyond their fingertips, uranium was being separated to create the world's first atomic bomb.
This is just amazing. I'd never seen these.
At 101, and with decades of hindsight, Opal is certain her work mattered.
When we went in, they went home. And we stayed till the next one came in.
Sure, the hours were long, but they say perspective is everything. And based on Opal's stories, hers is something special.
We had maid service.
To be able to look back on your life like that, it's got to have been pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Happy birthday, Opal! As part of her visit, she got to tour the reservation and stop by the American Museum of Science and Energy, or AMSI. And by the way, AMSI hosted a very buzzworthy event recently. Do you realize how important bees are? We literally cannot live without them. The American Museum of Science and Energy is making sure kids and grown-ups all learn. The Pollen Power event had candle making and all sorts of neat activities. People learned about pollination and the role bees play in our environment. Now listen, I'm allergic to them, but I respect them nonetheless. That was a free event, by the way. AMSI hosts a whole lot of educational gatherings throughout the year, and the museum itself is really pretty cool if you haven't checked it out just yet. And by the way, the AMSI bus tour is coming to an end for the season. We know many of you really love this, so don't worry, it's going to be back in the spring. The bus tour had been paused for several years because of the pandemic. Came back in July. It's seen quite a successful few months since the big return. We are told most of the phone calls over the last few years were from people wondering when the tour would be back. Again, don't worry, though it is ending for the season in November, it will be back in the spring. During the 3-hour tour, visitors are able to walk through the K-25 History Center at the East Tennessee Technology Park, the Graphite Reactor at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, and New Hope Center at the Y-12 National Security Complex. Guides share stories about Oak Ridge's rich history and exciting current-day missions. Now check out your screen here for the info. Aim your phone camera at the little box on your screen. That'll take you right to that page where you can keep an eye on the schedule. Our December episode is going to be a must-watch. We are super excited for this. Starts with an amazing story of men and women who recently saved the life of their coworker. We're going to talk to those who were there and responded to that emergency. And take me out to the ball field. For those of you who are sad baseball season just ended, we've got a really special treat for you. Next month, we are catching up with players from the former Oak Ridge Bombers baseball team. That team played in the 1940s up until the 60s. We're also going to recap some of our favorite moments from the past year. That's going to be a lot of fun. You do not want to miss this. You know, there are some very controversial conversations surrounding Thanksgiving. I've gotten into a few passionate discussions on air with co-anchors over the years myself. For instance, do you say pecan or pecan? Is strawberry pretzel salad a side dish or a dessert? Do you even know what that is? I did not. We'll get into that a little later. All right, so then there's the good old healthy question. What really is the best Thanksgiving feast side dish? Well, we know family dinner can bring its own heated debates, so here on Energycast, we are keeping it cool. We headed out to ask employees across the federal building a broader question in celebration of the holiday. What's your favorite part of Thanksgiving?
I'm good. What are you doing? No, I don't want to do that thing.
We need to talk to an expert. I've got a question for you.
Oh, God. I know that. Are you taking my picture?
We're doing a special. We're doing a Thanksgiving special. What's your favorite part of Thanksgiving?
Oh, the food. I love my family too. I like to cook, so that's what I like about it. I like to have a lot of people to feed.
Everybody's doors closed.
No.
Please. We've got the Thanksgiving Scrooge over there.
I love me some turkey and some pumpkin pie.
What?
What's your favorite thing about Thanksgiving?
My favorite thing, family. Having some good stuff.
And I can put away some potatoes too.
I'm following you everywhere.
Okay, bye.
We're rolling. We're hot.
Favorite thing about Thanksgiving, getting together with family. That's the best part of Thanksgiving.
No, pumpkin pie and whipped cream.
It's got to be the bird, the turkey.
Family, being together with your family and having a good time. That's it.
Everybody's on lunch break. It's magic. I turned into somebody else.
Now, this conversation didn't stop there. We took it to Facebook. Specifically, we asked about the strawberry pretzel salad. Now, I had never heard of this. A few of you said you hadn't either. Joseph here says, I learned about this when I was 2 years old and I must try it. Beth, on the other hand, said she only ate it when she lived in the Midwest. Now, I also chimed in with my thoughts, and those comments, that I left, well, those escalated emotions on the topic, and they led to me being referred to as the former host of Energycast. So that didn't go well for me. If you'd like to see the whole thread or weigh in and save my job, head on over to our Facebook page, please. We are always happy to answer questions and share information with you there as well. And remember, if you work in environmental management in Oak Ridge, keep us in mind if you come across a story. We are always looking for news tips and story ideas from all across the reservation. Email your idea to oakridgeem@orem.doe.gov. Let us know there. You might just see it right here. See you in December. Happy Thanksgiving.